So when I was a child, my mother used to tell me the story of the good wolf and the bad wolf. Maybe you've heard this story. There was an old grandfather, and his grandson came to him one day, and he said, "Grandfather, I'm really angry with these people." And he said, "Ah, yes, my son. Okay, well, let's talk about it." So they talk through. The young man expresses his frustration, his pain, his anger, his rage, like all these sorts of things. And his grandfather leans back and says, "Okay, grandson, I have to tell you that there's a battle going on inside of you and inside of me. And it's a war that's been waged forever between two wolves. One wolf is everything that we feel inside: anger, greed, hatred, right? All of these sorts of negative things. And there's the good wolf, the white wolf, right? That brings us happiness and joy and peace and all these other things, love." And he said, the young boy looks at his grandfather and he says, "Grandfather, well, how do we know which one wins?" Well, the story that I was always told was that the grandfather looks at the son and he says, "The one you feed." Now, we could end the story there, and that makes a lot of sense, right? Wherever I put my energy, right, negative or positive, right, we could see that potentially being good. But what I've learned is that that is actually not the real story, and that's not actually the case in how it happens in life. You see, if I focus my energy only on being the good version of myself, then I am negating and I am holding back the growth and development of these bad, quote unquote, bad aspects that I actually need. And what ends up happening is if I neglect this, then it grows and it gets bigger and it festers and it waits for even the smallest opportunity to jump. And when it jumps, does it jump softly or does it jump aggressively? Now think about that for a moment. If you don't address your fear, your anger, or your frustration, and you try to block it and you just focus on, "I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy," and you keep saying that, but really you know you're not, then at an instant, any one thing in your life, a spouse, a friend, a coworker, a boss, can say or do one thing that's very small that tips the scales and sets you off in a cascade of rage. True or false? Okay? That wolf has just been waiting in the darkness to attack. And that's because we did not give it the attention that it deserved. So the way that the actual story ends is that the grandfather teaches the young man that he must appease both wolves, because the bad wolf brings with it some good skills, right? Courage, strength, right? The ability to address all sorts of things, right? And we have to focus on being able to cater to both of those wolves inside of us. So when we look at that, the main reason why I bring that up today is because when we break up and we start talking about your week, when you were successful, what you failed at, we are naturally going to shy away from the things that we don't want other people to know, or we'll naturally shy away from the things that we're ashamed of, right? If the score is best out of 7, are you going to be honest with yourself, because that's the only person that matters? Did you actually win 4 out of the 3 or 4 out of the 7 days? Or in reality, did you really only win 2 out of 7, but you're going to say that you won 4 or 5 because it makes you feel better? Because you don't want to feel the pain of accepting that maybe you made a mistake, or that you could have done something differently, or that, this actually wasn't as good as it could have been, okay? That is the lesson for this week, is to lean into the pain that we naturally want to walk away from, that we want to push away, that we don't want to accept or even address, because the reality is that pain is a cue, it's a marker, it's your body, it's your life, it's the universe and the cosmics, right? Pointing you in the direction of the things or the spaces that you need to pay more attention to. When we get injured and I get a cut, that space becomes inflamed. Why? Because that's part of the healing process. The inflammation will go away, but that's part of the healing process. Pain is part of the awareness. Pain, feeling and sitting in it. Not sitting in it beyond the point that we need to, but sitting in it long enough that we can become aware of the lesson that's needed, gain attention to the awareness that is required, and then we have the choice to either act or to hide. Those are the two things that we have a choice. So